Tom Cotton held a town hall in his state, and it was awesome. The best part about it was how politically motivated and politically active his constituents were, and I guess he didn't expect it because he didn't have an answer for a lot of what people asked him. Let's take a look at the first video.
You talk a lot about the repeal, but you have not gone into specifics on replacement. So my question is, will you commit today to replacement protections for those Arkansans like me who will die or lose their quality of life or otherwise be unable to be participating citizens trying to get their part of the American dream? Will you commit to replacements in the same way that you have committed to the repeal?
Thank you, Katie. Let's take a couple more comments or questions about health care.
Okay.
Wow.
I love democracy. So the Republicans keep crying that these are fake, but I've now seen interview after interview, and they are all from the district or the state that those guys are from. And I'm actually, I got to be honest, as I shared with you on the show yesterday, I'm actually surprised at how well they're organizing online.
Yeah.
I mean, they are figuring out where these guys are going, when it's happening, and they are getting immersed with people who are upset about what they're doing in representing them. That's democracy. That's wonderful. So in this case, she's like, what are you going to do to replace it? Because she has a pre-existing condition.
Right. She has a condition that affects skin and also joints, and it is lethal, or fatal, I should say, if you don't get the necessary treatment. And of course, because of Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, she's able to get the treatment necessary to survive and keep living a healthy life.
So if they repeal the Affordable Care Act, then she has a pre-existing condition and won't be able to get insurance. And this condition is fatal. So if I don't have insurance and I can't get treated, I'm going to literally die. And so how do you answer that? Thank you for the question. Next. No, not next. But that's so telling. He doesn't have an answer because he doesn't give a damn.
He doesn't give a damn, and it's clear that Republicans who have been adamant about repealing the Affordable Care Act never intended to replace it with anything to actually help the American people. And they have no interest in representing the American people and what their concerns are. These town halls have been, raucous. They've been, a little aggressive, but in the best possible way because people want to be represented by the people that they've elected into office. And in this case, right, you see democracy at play, working the way that it's supposed to. And you just ask, it's amazing how they're organizing and stuff, right? You know what a conservative's, or at least a Trump administration's response to you would be? Oh, they're getting paid. They're all paid. They're paid actors. They're all paid. No, they're not paid. They're actually genuinely concerned about their futures, and they're genuinely concerned about what's going to happen with their health care. The question is, are you going to represent them and hear them out, or are you just going to brush them aside as if they're not important to you?
Well, let's hear Katie McFarland out because she went on TV and she explained what happened. Let's watch.
And the crowd didn't like when he said, thank you, Katie, let's take a few more questions. In other words, they seemed to want him to answer your question. Did you get a satisfactory answer?
Unfortunately, I didn't. He just seemed to repeat my own question back at me. He just kept saying, if you lose your coverage today, you can still have it. But he made no promises as to what would happen in the future once he votes for the repeal, he keeps promising.
Yeah, and she clarified, as everyone who the press has talked to from these different events across the country have clarified, of course we're not getting paid. They're like, wait, can we? Where's the money? There's no money. There's no money. They're not Republicans. Republicans pay their supporters because they can't find. By the way, the other people who did, let's keep it real, was Hillary. She couldn't find any supporters online, and she would have to pay people to be her supporters online. That is not what's happening here. These people are super angry, and if your life was on the line, wouldn't you be angry? And one more thing about Tom Cotton and how careless he is. So he gets paid by of course, the different industries that benefit if they kill Obamacare. He's already got his check, and he doesn't care, and he's a corporate sellout. So now I understand that. But hey, at least be careful enough to come up with a BS answer, to say, oh, pre-existing conditions are so important to me, and that is why we are going to, sell insurance across state lines, and that will prevent it. Now, that's one of the canned answers that Republicans have that actually has nothing to do with pre-existing conditions. But here, he didn't even bother preparing. He's like, what difference does it make? Do you give me a campaign donation or don't you? You don't? I don't care. Move on.
Yeah, look, my hypothesis on that is that people weren't as engaged as they are right now. Like, the resistance is real. People are genuinely afraid, and they're fired up. And I think that there was a certain level of complacency prior to Trump getting elected. I think that people assumed that someone like Trump couldn't get elected. I think they assumed that all the terrible things that shows like ours would talk about weren't actually going to occur. And now they're actually happening. And so I doubt he expected the kind of reception that he got during this town hall. So that's just one example, by the way. Let's hear from another woman who's very much concerned about the Affordable Care Act.
Alzheimer's plus multiple other things. And you want to stand there with him at home, expect us to be calm, cool, and collective. Wow, what kind of insurance do you have? I've got a husband dying, and we can't afford. Let me tell you something. If you can get us better coverage than this, go for it. Let me tell you what we have, plus a lot of benefits that we need. We have $29 per month for my husband. Can you beat that? Can you? With all the congestive heart failures and open heart surgeries and we're trying $29 per month. And he's a hard worker.
And she gave me chills.
So you're telling me she's fake? Are you kidding me? So you got to remember, over 20 million people got insurance because of Obamacare. So now there's 20 million people who are going around thinking, wait a minute, am I not going to have insurance anymore? Now, my husband from time to time requires open heart surgery. If he doesn't have insurance, he dies. Gee, why are they upset? That's why they're upset. So the Republicans have no idea what they've done here. And they don't want to govern. It is not in their nature. They're anti-governing. So since they have no plan and they have no answer, all they want to do is rip stuff down. EPA, let's rip it down. Department of Energy, let's rip it down. Healthcare, let's rip it down. Oops, people need healthcare.
And if you want evidence for how disinterested they are in governing, let's hear from Kellyanne Conway and her thoughts on these town halls.
See people who are concerned about the swiftness of change, and I think that you've got some members heeding that call and taking their questions. I just don't hear a lot of solutions. That's what concerns me. Protesting is covered under the First Amendment. That's all fine. But come up with your own solution.
Are you kidding me? That's your job.
Wow.
You work for the president. The whole point of being president is you come up with solutions. Hey, if your husband's about to die, why don't you come up with a solution? What is she supposed to do? Write the new replacement insurance plan for the whole country while her taking care of her husband? That's what she's supposed to do? No, that's what you're supposed to do. How flippant.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a pre-existing condition and it's fatal. Well, why don't you come up with a solution then?
It shows you how disconnected and out of touch they are from the average American, which is disheartening, especially when you consider that, the poorest people in the country, people in rural America, ended up voting for this administration thinking that they would represent them. Look, Kellyanne Conway, during her appearance at CPAC, said something along the lines of, "I'm not a victim of my own circumstances." And so they look at people like the woman who stood up at that town hall and talked about her dying husband, they treat themselves like they're victims. You know, why don't you come up with your own solutions? Because she's not a doctor, and she's not wealthy, and she doesn't have all of these resources at her disposal to take care of her dying husband. Okay, so it's not like she's victimizing herself. It's that this system has victimized her and her family to the point where she doesn't even know if her husband's going to be able to be insured and survive under your administration.
And she's not the president. She's not a senator. She's not a congressperson. Her job isn't to come up with solutions. That's your job. And then finally, not only does she blame the people who are going to lose their insurance, like it's your fault. If you weren't so poor or middle class, well, then you would have been rich like all my friends and had all the insurance you need. Then she turns around, Kellyanne Conway does, and blames the Democrats. She says, well, they bellyache and moan and complain about most things, but I haven't heard any solutions. Wait, their solution was the Affordable Care Act, the thing that you're going to repeal now. What do you mean you haven't heard solutions? That was the whole point. That was Obama's solution to the healthcare problems, the one you're about to destroy with no solution of your own. Support independent media and get the whole Young Turks 2-hour show and other network shows all ad-free, tytnetwork.com/join. Come join us today.